Welcome to the CastOFF. We are in the semifinals. This is the show where two of your favorite contestants compete by recasting your favorite actors in some of your favorite movies. It's all your favorites here tonight on the CastOFF. But before we get to tonight's favorites, again, I got to get that music taken care of. We've only got one more shot for the music. I don't have the weekend here. It's just me. So maybe I'll have a bandage on my face later. We'll give that a shot. But before we get to today's favorites, let's talk about last week's favorites. Last week, Tracy Mangum from Movies That Make Us and Rob Irvin from the Clubhouse Podcast came down to a squeaker. There was 4-4 at the very end, and Rob pulled it out at the last second as they recast The Office to bring Rob as the first person in the finals. And tonight, we're going to find out who will be his challenger. As we go to tonight, we've got Game 2 of the semifinals. Jake Dietz from Movies That Make Us versus Chaz Evans from the Over and Under Podcast. All right, guys, how are you this evening?
Great. Thrilled to be here. Super excited.
Super excited, yeah. Mike, everything's super slow tonight, getting everything moving forward. I've pushed you live, but you're there. So, we just had the Super Bowl. Before we start, Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. There we go. It's done. You cannot use that to sway. Chaz emailed me earlier, said if I say Brady's the greatest of all time, do I get extra points? No, not for telling the truth. It's
then
simple
he's
as
not
that.
the greatest.
Say that again.
It's hard to argue at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I mean,
He is the GOAT.
Whether you like him or not isn't the point.
Right. I don't care if you like him or not.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start with our first seed tonight. That's going to be you, Jake. How are things over at Movies That Make Us?
Great. We are right in the middle of Rick Moranis February. We just
Feburanus.
My Blue Heaven. Yeah, we're not calling it that, Craig. I
Not
told you. We're not calling it
Feburanus?
that. No, not Feburanus. No.
That's a perfect
But we just
name.
did My Blue Heaven, and on Monday we've got Parenthood.
Oh, My
up
Blue
for our
Heaven
next
is great.
episode.
Now, isn't My Blue Heaven like a backdoor sequel? It's in its own. It's in another movie universe. I have to remind you what it is. There's something about that movie that connects to another movie.
Yeah. So Tracy shared with us on the episode that it's based on the same book that The Goodfellas is based on.
That's right.
So it's like the same.
It's Henry Hill.
Yeah. And so it's a very different movie than The Goodfellas. However,
that's right. Steve
yeah,
Martin.
That's the tie-in there.
Is Ray Liotta's character Henry Hill. They just changed the name. That's right. I knew that was something like that. So we've got Rick Moranis. You can do Inner Space.
We are not doing Inner Space. We've got Parenthood this week, and then our final one will be Spaceballs. So
okay, Spaceball. You should Little Shop of Horror. Come on, Rick Moranis is so great, and
well, that's the problem. We picked the shortest month to cover one of the best actors out there, and it has done so many great movies. So we might have to do it again next February. Maybe we'll have Rick Moranis February too. I almost called it Feburanus just for you, Craig.
Feburanus. See, it's a catchy. It just sounds good. You know what you're talking about. It's a grand time. Well, let's move on to Chaz Evans over from the Over and Under Podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing swell, man. Just living the dream. Chilling, living. I have really nothing else to say.
What's going on the podcast? You talk to artists on a regular basis. So what have you been talking about lately?
Yeah, so this week I actually have one with a photographer, Luna Molina, who is in charge of the Iron Maidens, which is a modeling kind of thing with automobiles. So that's coming up this week, and then next week we have Michael Balliff, who's a local director here. So just talking to a lot of actors, yeah.
Cool. Well, before we start tonight's game, just a quick reminder that Matinee Heroes Presents CastOFF is brought to you by our flagship, Matinee Heroes, and we've got Rom-Com February. We didn't call it anything cool. It's just February, so it's rom-coms. We're going to have Arnold Schwarzenegger in May, and that's going to be Schwarzenegger. But that's that's the only thing we've got going on there. And then we're doing Lord of the Rings in June, so it's going to be Lord of the Rings. Put a Lord of the Rings on it. because everyone gets married in June and the springs. But this weekend, we've got an amazing, we've got Elizabeth Rapp. She's wonderful. She's a superstar. Elizabeth Rapp is going to join me and my goofy roommate, Alan, to talk about Notting Hill. And you can head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe to the podcast, and you can hear that every week. Comes out at midnight, Texas time, Central Time, every Friday night, so Saturday morning. And while you're there, head over to matineeheroes.com/CastOFF, and you can subscribe to the video feed. Well, let's talk about the rules. Nothing's really changed. I'm going to put out an actor and a character. You have given me that actor's name to replace them. The best choice gets a point. I have a secret selection. If you happen to get that secret selection, which happened last week with Reginald VelJohnson as Stanley, you get an extra point. You get that point, and if it's also the best choice, you get a possibility of 2 points. Now, in the past, the best choice has not always been Craig's secret selection, despite the fact that my selection is almost always the best choice. Person with the most points wins. If there's a tie, double feature to win, and we'll talk about those rules when and if they're applicable. And I want to thank Carrie Gordon and Derek McCaw for judging this week. Carrie Gordon was just on with Saving Mr. Banks, and Derek McCaw will wrap up Rom-Com February with Some Like It Hot in 2 weeks. So I want to thank both of them for helping out. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
It's time. We're going to start with the wonderful, the amazing Leslie Knope. So we're going to start with Jake. Jake,
Yes.
You love this show, correct?
I do. I've got my Cones of Dunshire shirt on. This is probably one of my favorite shows out there. So this was a tough thing to do, to recast these characters. I love them all.
Did you feel you might have been too close to be able to judge properly?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I think it was hard because I know the characters really well, and I'm afraid that the judges might go with other picks that, I don't know. I may have overthought stuff, I guess is the way to put that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, let's start with you. Who did you pick for Leslie Knope?
So when Amy Poehler took this role, she hadn't really been known for much outside of Saturday Night Live. I wanted someone who kind of had that same background, could do a lot of comedy acting, could play a lot of wild characters, but could also rein it in, who was smart and witty, because Amy Poehler, she's one of my celebrity crushes, Craig. She's smart, witty, just amazing. But I went to replace her, Cecily Strong from Saturday Night Live.
Cecily Strong. She's very good, very funny. Rock solid sketch performer from SNL. Not a lot of movie work. She was in The Boss, and she appeared in The Lady Ghostbusters, but that's about it for her. But that's definitely going to change as soon as she leaves Saturday Night Live. She's got a big movie career ahead of her if she so chooses.
Yep,
Let's move on to Chaz. Who do you have to beat Cecily Strong?
Well, I kind of wanted to focus on when Leslie Knope finds herself in awkward situations, and it's usually her reactions that make that scene even funnier than it already is, with the setup. So I went with an actress who I feel like does that a lot with comedy movies, and so I chose Leslie Mann.
That's Leslie Mann. Very funny lady. Most of you know her for putting up with Judd Apatow. She's married to Judd Apatow, and that's why she is in The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, and This Is 40, which are all Apatow productions. But apparently, I guess she was in the new Vacation with Ed Helms as the mom. So Leslie Mann, solid pick. Cecily Strong, strong pick. We got Cecily Strong, Leslie Mann. I went with an easy one, Kristen Bell, because she's always solid. In The Good Place, she can play sweet, she can play mean. I think she can cover anything. The judges conferred, and Cecily Strong. So Jake gets the first point on the board. Now we move on to what I think is most people's favorite on the show, and that is Nick Offerman's Ron Swanson. I absolutely love this character. He's fantastic as the probably only conservative I know with a heart. So let's move on from that to Chaz. Who do you have playing? I guess he's a libertarian Ron Swanson.
Yeah, he's a libertarian. Correct.
I I went with somebody who pulls off like the no bullshit comedy routine kind of good.
Oh, there goes my YouTube rating. Thanks a lot.
BS stuff. I chose Woody Harrelson.
Now this one is a good one. This one is what we call inspired. What about Woody? Why Woody?
You know, there's a lot of scenes like in Zombieland when he just sits back, or even in, like in 17 again, or Edge of 17, sorry, where he sits back and just puts his feet up on the desk, and it's just like he means business, and he has that very stern look to him that you wouldn't want to like mess with.
Oh, absolutely. He's a serious acting stoner. He can do goofy things like he was in Cheers, but he's also White Man Can't Jump. But then he gets super serious in The Hunger Games and Planet of the Apes. And then I liked him in Solo, A Star Wars Story. That was, I think that movie gets a lot of hate when it's actually quite enjoyable. It's not perfect, but it's fun. Jake, who do you got to take out Woody?
Yeah, so I've got to pick somebody big. So hopefully I did. We'll see how this goes. But I needed somebody who could do all the facets of Ron. Everybody thinks of Ron as being quiet and stoic and everything else, but he's also very caring. He's very confident in himself. But he's also got to have some silly moments like wearing cornrows in the middle of the show and his stupid and ridiculous laugh that is 100% Nick Offerman. Like, he's got to be able to pull stuff like that off. So I went with somebody who could do all of that, and that's Bill Murray.
Former mayor of Pawnee, Bill
Correct.
Murray.
Yep.
See, I watched the show. He's known for being Bill Murray. So he was in Rushmore, Little Shop of Horrors, The Royal Tenenbaums, and, of course, the Garfield movies, which he accidentally did because when so-and-so Cohen called, he thought it was a Cohen's movie he was signing up for. He didn't know what was going on. So, yes, Bill Murray against Woody Harrelson. This is good. We've got Woody, Billy. I went with Wilford Brimley, Utah's own. Wilford Brimley. I did that for you guys because I could just see him right before he got real old, because he just recently passed, but up until recently, I want that gruff. And so the judges conferred Woody Harrelson for the win. Now it all tied out. Chaz on the board. Now we get to Adam Scott as uptight Ben Wyatt. The one thing about these two, Leslie and Ben, is they love government. Ineffectual government. So, Jake, who do you have playing? What was he? Accountant? City manager? What was he?
So he was a city finance guy. He and Chris Traeger would come in and clean up everybody's finances when they were bankrupt, and ended up being the city manager of Pawnee for a while, and then a congressman. Ben Wyatt's also a huge nerd and would do super nerdy things, and so I needed a big nerd to play this character, and so I went with a guy who I think is about as nerdy as they come in Hollywood, and that's Jason Segel.
He is, because I call him the oversized Muppet. He is, obviously he was in the Muppets, but I Love You Man, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, How I Met Your Mother is where a lot of people know him from. Very solid pick. Chaz, who do you have?
Well, so I was trying to compliment character chemistry with my choice for Leslie Knope. And who else do we see in Leslie Mann movies that's like her counterpart? We see no one besides Paul Rudd.
That's right. Paul Rudd, the Ageless Wonder, also from I Love You Man. So you guys obviously watched the same movies. It must have been on HBO recently. He's Ant-Man, Dinner with Schmucks, Anchorman, but he also was in This Is 40 with Leslie Mann and did a great job.
He was also Bobby Newport in Parks and Rec.
That's true too. So he can play dumb as a post, which he is in that show. So we have Jason Segel, Paul Rudd. I went with The Flash's Grant Austin. I feel like he's super nerdy. He just happens to be a superhero as well. The judges conferred. Got to give it to Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, come on. He even made it into the Super Bowl commercial, Jake from State Farm. So now we get to the lovely best friend, Rashida Jones as Ann Perkins. And we'll start with you, Chaz. Who do you have playing probably the most normal person on the show?
She's the most normal, and it made her the most hard because that could be a plethora of anybody to play that. So I went with somebody who could, I don't know, who's probably the same age as her, like at the time that this was airing, you know. So I went with Brie Larson.
Oh, the lovely and talented Brie Larson, Oscar winner Brie Larson. She's known for causing fanboy meltdowns because Captain Marvel apparently can't be on there because she's too much of a woman. And then obviously from the Avengers, won her Oscar in Room, but I think her turn in Trainwreck, the Amy Schumer movie, is exactly the kind of person you're looking for in this kind of situation. So, very good. Jake.
Yes, sir. So, Anne's the normal one who kind of gets caught up in all the craziness that is Leslie Knope, and so I needed someone who could easily get caught up in something like that and just go with it and be positive and fun. I went with Ellie Kemper.
Ooh, Ellie Kemper. She plays so sweet and naive. Obviously, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She was in 21 Jump Street, Bridesmaids, Get Him to the Greek, mostly TV. But yeah, she's super sweet as well. Let's see. We've got Brie Larson, Ellie Kemper, former student of John Hamm. John Hamm taught her acting when she was in high school in St. Louis, Missouri. Oh. I went with Brittany Murphy. She's passed on, unfortunately, but I thought Brittany Murphy had that spunk in that, I don't want to say plainness, but the definitely relatable, the girl next door kind of thing. And the judges went with Brie Larson, so Chaz has come out to a commanding 2-point lead as it's 3-1, Chaz over Jake. But Jake, there's still 6 possible points, and there's still 3. You could tie this up quite easily. So let's get on with Andy Dwyer, played by the whole reason Thanos was successful, Chris Pratt. And so we'll start with Jake. Jake, who do you have playing the ultimate dimwit, Andy Dwyer?
Yeah, he is so dumb, but so lovable, and you just have to like the guy. So I went with another actor who I think plays that very well. I went with Andy Samberg.
So Andy Dwyer becomes Andy Samberg. Obviously, he's the Lonely Island frontman from Hot Rod, Space Chimps, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and the new time travel, Palm Springs, which was a great movie. I love that one. That was very good. A very good choice because he knows sitcoms. Brooklyn Nine-Nine's my favorite show. That's fantastic. So, Chaz, who do you have playing Andy against Andy?
Well, funny enough, Andy was actually one of my choices, so that's a solid pick. I went with somebody who's known on another comedy show, and he kind of plays a dimwit on that, kind of like an egotistical dimwit. And he's kind of a big goof, but he's also likable because he's really funny. So I went with Timothy Simmons.
Well, the word likable is up there because he's known for playing tall, obnoxious jerks because that's his forte. He's like 9'3" in Veep, but he was in Inherent Vice, The Interview, The Boss. I haven't seen him really play anybody likable, but hey, I don't want to yuck your yum there, Chaz. That could be just me. We got Andy Samberg, Timothy Simmons. I went with Brendan Fraser, a young Brendan Fraser. I think he would, right out of Thawed Out of the Ice from Encino Man. The judges thought long and hard, and Timothy Simmons is just not likable. Sorry. Andy Samberg brings Jake back from the brink. Whew is right. Now we get to Aziz Ansari's Tom Haverford, and we'll start with Chaz. Who do you have playing the obnoxious, always has an angle, but yes, he's actually somewhat likable guy?
I resorted to a up-and-coming-ish actor from Netflix who's really known for Netflix stuff like Stranger Things, and I just chose Joe Keery.
Joe Keery, oh yes. He's the world-famous babysitter from Stranger Things. Also, the nacho fries guy from Taco Bell. If you're watching those commercials, I think he's going to regret doing those. He was in Molly's Game. Death to 2020 just came out on Netflix. I think he was contractually obligated from Stranger Things to do that for Netflix. And then he's going to be in the Ryan Reynolds video game Free Guy movie. So Joe Keery, I think that would work. Jake,
That's a great pick.
it is a good pick. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I went a different direction. I think Tom Haverford is self-absorbed but lovable and has a.
Um, so we have Joe Keery versus Mindy Kaling. I went with Sykes James Roday. I thought he would be a good kind of a weasel guy that you still kind of like. And the judges thought long and hard, and Mindy Kaling
Nice.
flips it. So we have a tie game. Next one is for all the marbles. Just like last week. This is great. I always say that the semifinals are like the Super Bowl because then you get to the Super Bowl and Tom Brady kicks your butt 31-9. This one, always tight. And so, Jake, this is where seeding might become important. You get to go first. And we'll start with, as we get on, I'm so excited. I want to get you on screen. We're going to start with what I think is my least favorite character. We started off with Leslie, who's one of my favorites. Ron's my favorite. But we have Aubrey Plaza as April Ludgate. She is just irritating and mean, but apparently has a heart of gold. I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah. So she's one of those characters that she grows on you with time, and by the end of the show, you're just cheering for her because she does have a heart of gold, and especially when she's paired with Andy. The two of them together is a great combo. I went with someone who I thought could play the quirky and weird and make it believable, so I went with Zoe Deschanel.
Ooh, Zoe Deschanel. She's known for being the girlfriend because she was the girlfriend in Elf, 500 Days of Summer, in The New Girl, which she always was someone's girlfriend, and Yes Man. So, Chaz, he replaced Aubrey Plaza with the lovable Zoe Deschanel. Who did you replace Aubrey with?
Well, I kind of based this up purely off of looks, because I think my choice kind of looks like a younger sister of maybe her character if she was ever on the show. So I went with Haley Steinfeld.
Ooh, Haley Steinfeld, the new Kate Bishop. She's always spunky young leads, True Grit, Bumblebee. She was in the Pitch Perfect movies. And then, was in Ender's Game too. So.
oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. But she's going to be in the new Hawkeye limited series for Disney Plus as Kate Bishop. And I've been playing the Avengers game nonstop. So I've been playing. She doesn't look anything like Haley Steinfeld, but I think she's a good pick. So now it all comes down to this. We've got Jake with 3 points. And he decided Zoe Deschanel. Zoe is a rock-solid television performer. Can easily fit into movies, but we know that she can hold her own on TV. Haley Steinfeld. We know she's a rock-solid actress. We know that she's Oscar caliber who's not afraid to do stupid things like Bumblebee. Just so you guys know, I went with Zendaya. Her MJ from the Spider-Man movies has the same personality attitude that I'm looking for April Ludgate, and I think she does that quite well. So we know that nobody's going to blow out tie and get the extra point. So there will not be a tie. There is no possible way this is going to be over tonight. One of you is going to go talk to and go on to next week and fight Rob Irvin. Jake, you've been on the show 3 times? 4 times?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Yep. Chaz, you've been on it a couple times too. This is your first season though. And we thought about it long and hard. And I still have 5 minutes until it's 6:30, so I've got to fill in time. Can't go to commercial. We waited and waited and waited and we waited, and we're irritating the audience, so we'll just get it over with. We went with Haley Steinfeld. And Chaz, you move on to the finals, and you are tonight's winner. Yeah! Congratulations. And with your win, you have tonight's final thought.
My final thought, Jake, those are good picks. was actually really nervous in the last one because I thought Zooey was a very good one. But I will fight for all those who lost to Rob. So,
Well, you represent the entire state of Utah as it goes against the entire state of Texas. It all came down to this, but now we have to find out what you guys are going to be recasting in the finals. And so it's set. The finals have been set. The wonderful Rob Irvin from the Clubhouse podcast versus Chav Evans from the Over and Under. And you will be recasting one of the most beloved movies of all time, The Shawshank Redemption.
oh God.
Yeah, that is going to be very difficult because Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman have made that movie. It is so beloved that I wanted to make it hard, but yet everyone's going to be, all the side characters are what's going to win it. So we'll see you next week. And if you've liked the show, head over to Twitter. Subscribe to our Twitter at Matinee Heroes. You can see us at twitch.tv/Matinee Heroes because apparently the Facebook feed crashed, and so it's only on YouTube and Twitch tonight. You can go to facebook.com/groups and join the Matinee Heroes group. And of course, you can head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff and subscribe not only to the video feed, but while you're there, subscribe to the podcast as well. So, on behalf of Jake Dietz and tonight's winner and finalist, who we'll see in less than 7 days from now, because it'll be 6 days and 23 and a half hours, Chaz Evans, I'm Craig Price. Thanks for watching.